I just wanted to let you guys know about this amazing news that just came out. That you guys remember in July when President Trump was attending the NATO summit in Turkey, and he switched planes because there was a threat
Yeah.
against him. So he switched from the Qatari plane to Air Force One because apparently the Air Force One was not as safe, but given the threats, apparently the threat was so much bigger, and the story is also a lot more than what we realize. So let me just tell you, okay? So this was in July. President Trump attended the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. After the summit wrapped up, Trump boarded the classic blue and white Boeing, the Air Force One. He That's what he did in field view to make the reporters see that. So he switched from the Qatari plane to Air Force One, and in front of the cameras. And then he even interviewed some. A mic is open. I'm hearing some background, and he heard like they had the interview. He answered questions, but then after all of that was over, he had a secret exit. So this is what we didn't know. This is now we know. So he didn't do the Qatari plane. He didn't do even Air Force One. After he apparently there was a major threat against them. So after he talked to the reporters, minutes after, he secretly stepped outside, and and with a core group of senior aides, they moved to another aircraft, not Air Force One, that in a way that the press cameras could not see. I don't know how they did that. And an airport catering truck equipped with hydraulic lift. They apparently put him in a catering truck. The president and the core team. That was used to load everything and the flight meals and everything, and the president to another plane. Um, Trump stepped into a catering truck container. The truck was lowered back to tarmac levels and driven across the airport runway to a smaller U.S. military aircraft. So they made it seem like he came back to home with so with Air Force One, but he was on a military plane. He secretly got out, went to a military plane, and he secretly, once the plane landed in the U.S., they secretly moved him to Air Force One again, and he came out of Air Force One, making it seem like this entire time he was in Air Force One. So there was a decoy flight. Traveling journalists and several White House staff members boarded the Legacy 747, completely unaware that the president was no longer on board. So the plane, the people, all the reporters and everybody were on the Air Force One, thinking that they're flying with the president, but the president was not on a plane. Press members were instructed by security personnel to lower their window shades for takeoff. The Legacy Boeing 747 took off towards RAF. Um, so again, I'm not going to read the names because I'm going to mispronounce them. Flight tracking data show. Okay, again, this is too much detail, but this shows that there was a very significant threat against President Trump's life by the Islamic Republic. Given that the threat was this high, it shows that there was a organized plan to kill President Trump by the Islamic Republic. Like, this is not people just chanting in the streets and virtue signaling regarding, like, it's not just for show. There was a detailed state-sponsored plan by the Islamic Republic to kill President Trump. I don't know how much that's going to affect President Trump's decision. Um, I hope it is, because I think President Trump would be taking this level of the fact that he had to do all of this, to me suggests that he's taking the assassination threat very seriously. I mean, I hope he is, and that might make an impact on what he's about to do to the Islamic Republic. I don't know if it will, but again, the fact that the Islamic Republic is that serious about killing President Trump is significant, because just because this failed, it doesn't mean that they're going to stop. Um, there are a lot of ways, unfortunately, to in the dark web, to provide rewards for such an act, by people who are already in the United States, and President Trump already almost died in an assassination, but by an amateur. And given that now we know the Islamic Republic is this serious about actually killing President Trump, given that President Trump almost already died by the hands of an amateur, the I think more Americans should pay attention to how significant this is, because if you put more money actually behind such an operation, then we're going to get professionals trying to do something like this, and it can happen. Like I think like some people think I'm exaggerating this, but I've been talking about this potentially happening at some point, and I think not enough people are talking about this. Anyway, so I just wanted to start with that, with this crazy new. Looks like a Hollywood spy movie or something. The way they're talking about it. But yeah, let's go to what people have to say in the chat.
Okay, we have some
Yeah.
twos. Let's go to Sherry first.
Armin, I do specifically remember those news reports um, a while ago. I do remember those. But I also recall that we didn't get a lot of details in any way, shape, or form. So I appreciate you sharing the details on how that worked out. It seems like the news that you're sharing comes late, but that's only because they haven't shared it. But there's no doubt that Trump was aware of what happened, and I appreciate you sharing those details. But I do recall very well the news reports where he decided to change his flight. Thank you for sharing all that, those details that I wasn't aware of. Thank you.
Okay, Noah.
Um, so first of all, I love it. The story that how it does sound like a um Hollywood script. But I do have one thing to clarify. So any Air Force military aircraft um that the president rides on is called Air Force One. And it goes on the same with any Marine heli- helicopter or plane. It would be called Marine One, any Army, etc. Um, so the small aircraft, if it was military, it would have been called Air Force One still, but I digress. Um, but it was very clever that they had a decoy, and they usually have decoy planes just in case something like this were to happen. So it's very clever that they had this. Um, but there have been two attempts on his life, and those are the ones that we know about. Um, and I could go on and on about this, but yeah, those are the ones we know about, and it's very good that they had this plan and they were able to execute it, and he was able to come home safely.
All right, thanks, Noah. Now Richard.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I second that. And I just wanted to add, I think a couple of things to pull from this is that the extent to which the Islamic Republic is going to remove Trump suggests probably two things. One is that they do see him as some kind of existential threat, that despite all the setbacks we've seen, the Islamic Republic is still seeing him as a potential, means to end the regime. And the second thing I think is more unfortunate. They probably are going to extreme lengths like this to remove Trump because they see Vance as an ally, and that is something to be concerned about.
All right, Raham.
Yeah, I heard about this a couple of days ago and I thought it was hilarious. The first thing I thought was this guy's pretty big. How the hell did he like fit down into like the lift and stuff to go comfortably in this? It must not have been a super comfortable thing for him to do, and it probably pissed him off. And the thing that I can't remember was this was the same incident where they said that he didn't get into the Air Force One plane provided by Qatar, or that was a different flight, right? So I think that so this was this the same one, Armin?
No, so this is the same event, but with more details. So we just got the more details like now, like this is new, like this is from hours ago. So we knew that he didn't use the Qatari plane. He used the traditional plane that he uses, right? We know that he made that switch, but now we know that there was two switches. He didn't even use the traditional plane. Minutes later, he secretly exited the via a catering truck on the far side of the aircraft, and basically went to this other military plane. So it wasn't the Qatari plane. It wasn't the traditional Air Force One. It was in a way that none of the reporters could be seen. He was moved to a military plane using a catering truck, and then when he made it back to the U.S., he probably used the same way to get back to the traditional Air Force One to make it seem like he was on that plane all the time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, because I remember him going back to Air Force One over security reasons of the Qatari one. And yeah, so now it was a double switch. That's pretty crazy. So this must have been a really, really substantial threat that they took it this seriously, because usually brushes it off, and I'm glad they did. So I'm sure they're going to be making a lot of good movies for about what happened in the past year. It's been interesting.
Thanks, Aham. Let's go to Jose next.
The interesting about all this is the fact that, yes, Armin, looks like it's getting serious. So you have to look at their attempt to hire the cartels that operate out of Mexico and the United States. Now, all of a sudden, that becomes a more serious threat. Also, since he's returned to office, I believe last year there was a female in the Carolinas who was trying to hire someone to assassinate Trump on Twitter or X or whatever, I think. And then recently there was a guy that put a message out on, I forget the platform, but it was a video platform, TikTok, okay, saying that, hey, Trump, I'm giving you two choices, and this is for, anyway, non metagame.
Oh, Jose froze for me.
Yep, he's frozen. Okay, let's go to next. I think he's about done. Jeffrey?
Can you hear me now?
Oh yes, we could hear you. Okay, go
Okay.
ahead, Jose.
I said that this guy told as a message to Trump, resign your presidency or I'll take you out. And the FBI picks him up almost immediately. But yeah, so things are starting to get a little bit on the scary side.
Yeah. Okay, Jeffrey?
So yeah, I mean, the White House releases the details surrounding the Secret Service's efforts to offset actionable intelligence that there was a credible threat against President Trump's life. So what is it? So yeah, the first response, it was kind of covered in July 8th, 2026. President Trump's departure from the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. They have a credible or actionable intelligence regarding a significant threat posed via missile attack on the president's aircraft amid U.S. Iranian, Mullah regime tensions. The explained public story at the time is, President Trump switched to the older Air Force One, so troops in the UK could tour the newer Qatari donated jet. That's like the story they gave as part of their tactical misdirection. You have detailed the actual security operation that came out right now. So he does this switcheroo and gets into a smaller C-32A aircraft. An older plane flew as a decoy, right, to have them go after things that don't have the president on them. As far as what that signals, I mean, it signals the totality of this conflict, and that the fact that the Mullah regime remnants, are very much in an all or nothing kind of position. They've gone down the S curve, prospecting, being risk averse and risk accepting because they have nothing left to lose, and that existed independent of U.S. actions in no insignificant matter. Not that U.S. actions and Israeli actions aren't significant and didn't, contribute to it. The point is, these are pseudo theologically motivated whack jobs who think that, are willing to burn everything down to the ground if it brings the ushers in the new the Mahdi. Um, so it signals how committed they are, and that this threat is inelastic. Yeah, and that would then result in the conclusion that they have to go. As far as like the idea that they're playing tactical, like they being the Mullah regime remnant, Mullah regime now regime remnants is playing 4D chess because they view Vance as a preferable successor. I have a hard time believing that. I mean, I have issues with Vance to be sure, like his position on things. The idea that the regime is targeting President Trump and not Vance. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're targeting Vance too. Everybody in the administration. So as soon that doesn't, I don't. I mean, if that is what they're thinking, that's very much a miscalculation on their behalf. If the Mullah regime was to successfully take out the president of the United States, the response would be so ungodly and so brutal. It would be like that would be the end of them. I think it's them, the Mullah regime remnants, um, ramping up and doubling down and putting a lot of their effort into taking out administration officials, including President Trump, is more illustrative of the pseudo theological motive, the elements that underwrite their motive, and the fact that they now frame their position from such a domain of loss that they figure they have nothing left to lose. And that domain of loss existed even before operations because the Mullah regime is very clear, as Armin and Ali and everybody else has correctly, that seems like, has outlined on their shows, respective shows. The Iranian people are done with these fucking assholes. They're done starving. They're done being kidnapped and tortured in the dark. They're done having their daughters raped by these besieged fucks. They're done having like the Mullah regime that's illegally occupied Iran rob Iran and them of the resources of Iran to pursue all kinds of crazy shit while they have a hard time buying fucking food or having like be turning on the tap to get water. Like they're done with that shit. So all of that points to the fact that the regime has to go. And me and other guys are pushing to find ways, any number of ways to do that. And all of you are involved in the battle of the narratives to ensure that that policy is realized. Glad to be back, by the way, guys. Missed all you guys.
Oh,
Thanks for
missed
coming
you
back,
too.
Jeffrey. Okay, let's go back to Sherry.
First thing I wanted to just say is, thank God Amu is back. Thank you, Uncle Jeff, for being back. We did miss you. The second thing I wanted to say is I actually wanted to ask Jeff about this. So obviously, I don't feel like they understand if they would take out Trump, what that would actually end up looking like in the long run. For two reasons. Yeah, I'm not really crazy about not really crazy about Vance. However, Vance is supposed to be very good friends with Trump Jr. So I don't understand what they think they would accomplish other than, oh, I got muscle, oh, I got this, oh, I got that. But I just don't think they understand the US and how that would end up playing out. Because even if I don't care for Vance or whatever, you take out my president, it's going to be uglier, I think, than they have a grasp of understanding. Am I right on that, Jeff, or am I wrong?
I think that they understand. They being the Mullah regime, now regime remnants, I think they don't care because they're down the S curve of prospect. They're being risk averse and risk acceptant and figure they got nothing left to lose, which is very correct, right? Regardless if that loss is realized via Iranian people who have rightly had enough of this fucked up regime, and or exogenous actions by exogenous actors like the United States, Gulf state allies, our Israeli allies. I mean, they fired at everybody, right? Everybody's aggravated with them. So, except for members of the autocratic bloc, who they're essentially the friggly ass, toothless, pickle eating hobo whore for. I mean, they know that. So, I think they understand. I just think that they're just they're an all or nothing actor based on the mix of the nature of their motivations and where they're at, because everybody's tired of their shit.
Okay.
Okay, so you believe that they do understand it, but they don't give a fuck, per se.
Jeffrey says yes. All right, let's go to Neil Bunny now.
I just wanted to quickly say that if you were Trump and you had to go through all of this under these constant threats and do all of this stuff, would you really want a deal? If you could actually crush them into a fine powder, I contend that you wouldn't.
Okay, and then last on this topic is Shauna.
Sorry, phone delay. I would agree that they don't understand. I also think that there's a lot of leftists in America that don't understand. And I'm going to pull back from my general area and background, but I think Jeffrey will be very aware of this as well. Is that there's a lot of Union Bro, Blue Dog, dyed in the wool Democrats that are also vets. That if you fuck with the president, they're gonna go mad. They might hate Trump with every fiber of their being, but at the end of the day, he's still their president. And if you fuck with him, take him out, do something like that, they are gonna wake up and activate. There's a lot of our own, I call them patriotic silent sleepers in this country, where maybe they're very leftist, I don't agree with them on anything, but they are also vets and they will kind of rise up when the occasion strikes. I think of the people who were very anti-Bush prior to 9/11, and as soon as 9/11 hit, they went and signed up for the reserves. I know people like that. So, and I'm sure Jeffrey does too. They're maybe they don't, like I said, we don't agree with them on most things, but when it comes to defending the country, they will form a line. And there's a lot of people like that in this country. And I do think that is underestimated by our enemies.
Okay, I'm trying to move on. So I'll have a couple of sentences each, please, from Richard and Sherry. Richard, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to say I hope you're right, but I don't share your optimism. I don't trust leftists when it comes to putting the country first, and I don't trust Vance to prosecute the war. That's just my opinion.
Thanks. And Sherry?
I just wanted to say to Sean, and thank you so much. I hope you're effing right, because I do hang out at a vet bar, and I know a lot of veterans, and I hope you're right. I think you're correct, but I hope when it comes down to the push and shove that you're absolutely 100% correct.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.